So you can see right off the bat I'm having some issues with power, and you can hear that the bike is just not producing any power going up this hill in the mid-range. It gets up on top, runs really good on top, and then just falls flat when I come back to the mid-range. And that means I don't have any mid-range power, and I pretty much failed the hill climb. Now this is a hill climb that I usually take a few tries at anyway, so it's not a huge deal, but this needs to be fixed. So let's go ahead and talk about the problem, and let's show you what's going on. Alright, so what we have here is the power valve of a 2020 YZ250X, and this should be consistent with 05 through current models. And the symptoms we've had are that the bike gets onto the top end, feels normal, and then hangs on its transition to the low end and mid-range. It loses all its power, and then it'll kind of take a second and snap back. And what we discovered here after popping the cover off is that this stopper is binding on this piece. This is a piece that is common to break off, and if you search the forums you'll find pictures of this being broken off, and I'd wager that this is why. This piece here contacts this, puts a bending moment on that, and shears it off. It hasn't done that in this bike yet. The bike has 70 hours, and I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like when it operates normally, and then we'll get it stuck, and yeah, then we'll go from there. So here you can see the normal motion of the power valve, and then when we give it a quick turn, you're gonna see it get stuck right there. Caught on camera. So there's a few issues that I've heard are common on the YZs. One is that this knuckle that you see on the top here that a pointer will be displayed on the screen pointing to, it can break off. And this makes sense if this mechanism gets bound up like this a bunch of times and you keep shock loading it like this, that this will break off. Now I've never heard of somebody having a power valve, except for one case on a forum, stick like this. So it's a little bit of a weird issue. And I tried two things. First thing I tried is sanding the actual two pieces down. So both edges I tried sanding down, and this made a difference, but it really wasn't the root of the problem, and I should have known that right from the beginning. The root of the problem here is that the power valve is actually dirty and sticking. And if you watch this in like a slowed down version, you can kind of see a hesitation as the power valve begins to return in, where it stays and wants to resist that spring, and that's where this happens. It locks up right away. So I think, the sanding definitely helped. It made it almost impossible for it to lock up, but it was really cleaning the power valve really well. So that means disassembling this whole, all these power valve pieces and then putting them back in after giving them a good clean. That seemed to do it. And you can actually disassemble this whole part without taking off the cylinder. You do have to take off the radiators, but it really wasn't that big of a deal, and the biggest thing is you just have to be very careful with the Phillips head screws. So yeah, that's how I would suggest fixing this issue. Is first clean the power valve, then if you'd like, sand the two pieces. So let's take another listen to this hill climb and see if we can spot the issue so you guys know what exactly it sounds like. Right here. So that was one instance of it where I was going up and the bike was running really good, and then it has that little hesitation. So let's wait for the second time. Alright, sounding really good. Trying to come down to the mid-range, and then an abrupt grossness, and then that abrupt change is really the signature. That's the power valve slipping off of its held up state, if you will. Now that we have the weird power valve issue explained and fixed, let's go ahead and do some good riding. Should be a lot more fun this time. The engine's dead cold. Turn the choke on here and fire up. So that was an incredible first stab at the button, fired right up, and that's kind of what I've come to expect from the Panthera so far. And right away, I can tell that I've solved my issue, and this is going to be a great day. How lovely. Oh, yeah. Bike's looking good today. I think my power valve choices